Hi guys, in today's video we are going to be looking at the Poole type Class 8. Now I've come across a few of these just lately and I've been messing around with them. This is just running on DC, by the way. I've got myself it's the bog standard Graham Farish controller that comes with the older sets. So I have got rid of that annoying buzzing noise now. Beautiful, isn't it? Now, just as a comparison, so again, this is the Poole type Class 8 chassis, big chunky die-cast shell, not 100% accurate, and then I might have got another one, but what I've got here is one that I haven't modified. Now, my modification is kind of a hack. I just found it out myself. I thought, why do these just not want to go over points, especially the tight ones? So I'll show you what happens if you don't do the mod, and it'll just keep stopping. I can go a bit quicker. It's just not happy, and I'm going to show you why, so that you can hopefully make your loco better. So it just keeps stopping, and I'm going faster than I did a minute ago with the other one. But you can see it's hesitant. We'll slow down a little bit. It will stop. There. And let's go over to the bench and I'll show you exactly what is happening here. But in the meantime, I'm just going to send these off. Because, you know, why not? Let's park them up. Right, to the bench. Got my trusty flat-headed screwdriver. So what is it that makes them go over those points a bit better anyway than stock? And what is the hack? Well, I'll come to that in a minute. I'll just show you the main issue though with inshore frog points. And the main issue is this point here where it's made of plastic and it doesn't conduct electricity. So the loco wants to just sort of stop on it. And because this has only got 3 axles of pickup, it's very susceptible to stopping at these points. So I don't want to modify my track or change any of my points because I've got a lot of track that are, especially points or junctions, turnouts, that are inshore frog points, and I want to keep them. I don't, you know, I'd rather have inshore frog points than have electrofrog, which is what a lot of people do, which is fair enough. You can do that. That is a good way of getting your locos to run better. So on electrofrog points, this would be a metal sort of arrow shaped thing here. More of this would be metal, so it can conduct more electricity to the loco. Downside is I think you have to switch the power when you flick the point. Enough of that. We'll get straight to it really. When this loco goes over the point, so just bring that back actually. When it goes over here, you're not going to really see it that much, but the loco is going to wobble a bit as it goes over here. Now, what I do is I make the middle axle of the loco float a bit, because stock, these are basically in a recess and they're kind of, you know, they're not moving up and down. There's no articulation. There's no movement really for the wheels to move. So what will happen is the front, for example, will go over a bit of track and then sort of like lift its arse up. It will sort of do this. So you don't really want that. What we want to do is try and keep wheels in contact with the ground as much as we can. So if you look here, you see that the rear, the middle, and the forward axle. There's no movement on any of it. So if you get a slight, let's say, electrofrog at this point, it's basically lifting the whole thing off the track, more or less. Let's just say it is. Now, it's not ideal, really, is it? And you've got to be careful with what I'm just about to show you, that you don't go too much, because I haven't gone too much on any of them, so I don't know what you know. I don't know what the outcome would be. Probably nasty gear noises. But I'm going to get in here quick So Poole type chassis, 2 front screws here. Just get in here and I'll show you what is what we're going to adjust. Now this loco is in really good condition, but I want to modify it so it runs better. Now again, I need to get in there really and just explain why this is at your own risk, because it involves basically you can either file it or I'll use a knife and scrape the holes for the axles on the loco. And that one, I believe. Whenever you're working on a train with links, try not to pinch the side of the loco where the links are, because that can really mess up the way that they run. So, I mean, the loco runs. It's just not as good as I think it can be. So just be careful of that spring there, and there's, in this case, there's one actually in the front here, just there as well, so we'll come to that in a minute. You can see how clean that is, look, it's fantastic to see something like this. Unfortunately I'm just about to taint it, please don't hate me. But really, yeah, I'd rather this runs really good. It's nice to have something good to start off with. So there's a smaller flat-headed screw here, and those 3 we just took off a minute ago, they're all the same size for the shell to this, so you haven't got to worry about mixing those up. This screw goes all the way through to the top here. I'm just going to put my finger on that nut to stop it rotating, and that nut should fall off, he says. There we go. So the 2 tangs are the front of the loco, so this is the front end, this is the rear end. Now the reason I'm saying that is, just take note of these links here. That little bubble there, which would be kind of like a pivot point for the link system on the real thing, that is aft, rear of the middle axle. So this one is basically facing rear. And then these little points here, which would be oiling points on the I guess the crank pins, something like that. So they have to face up if you want it, semi sort of accurate. So it's just remember. Or you can refer to this video, if you're pulling yours apart and you want to have a go. I'm not going to go into like cleaning motors and things like that. What I am going to do though, we've removed that screw, and that was to aid us to remove this bottom piece here. But it's still not going to come out, we've got to remove this screw. Just be a bit careful because the motor's now not really held in with anything. You could lift that up and the whole motor comes apart. So in actual fact what I'm going to do here, I'm trying, my couplings come out the front there, expect that. But then also expect there to be this tiny little spring there that he's just poking out. Take him to one side so he's safe. Right, so where are we? That's the rear, that's the front, because we've got the 2 little ears. And I'll try and keep it this orientation throughout the whole video, because then it'll be easier for you to reassemble yours, I guess, when you follow along at home. Yeah, so basically how this came about, I've had 2 BR green class 8s and they both needed fixing. That's the same as the 3 shell screws, so yeah, I mean you can't really go wrong with the screws at this point. Now this whole thing comes off, this is where all the contacts, this is where all the magic happens. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But this is where the real magic happens. Now this is where the hack comes in. So remove the whole lot, and I'm going to keep that orientation but just put it off screen. At this point, by the way, you can clean the wheels up. I think I might just do that in a second, because if you clean up the inside of them wheels, like especially this one, you don't want any greases on them. So what are we gonna do? Well, we are gonna just check that I don't do the wrong hole. Okay. So the axles go through this hole, or these cutouts, because there's ones in front of it as well, so don't do anything there. In fact, all I'm going to do here is actually adjust this one here. So that's the middle axle, that's the rear axle, and that's the forward axle. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down probably... I don't know, actually. I don't know how much it would be. What we're trying to achieve here is the front and rear axles. We're not really going to adjust anything on those. But what we're going to do is adjust the middle axle here to float up and down. So the forward and the rear of the loco support the weight of the loco. Imagine it as a 2-axle drive loco, and this middle one basically is free to bobble up and down like this. Now the reason for that is more wheels will stay in contact with the ground, and the beauty of this specific chassis is it kind of allows that with the way the gear is in here. It allows for the gear to move up and down ever so slightly, not a lot. But what I'm going to do, I would say possibly 1/2 mil, somewhere between 1/2 mil and 1 millimetre. You haven't got to go overly zealous, but what I tend to do is I'm not taking any material off the sides, I'm just putting the knife down the side there, turning it, and it's basically shaving out the bottom of that hole. Now at this point, I bet there's a lot of pros going, what are you doing? Because all the bits are falling down into the motor, aren't they? Well, I'm not actually that bothered about it, to be honest, but this is a better way of removing the material than I would say filing it, because you get really fine particles down in there, in the motor. But this is how I did the other two as well. So what you can do actually is probably put a bit of paper in there or something and file it, and then hoover it, and then remove your bit of paper. I'm not doing that, but that's a good way to do it though. I'm not gonna like go all ginger with things, because sometimes you need to be very precise with things, and then other things, not so. Okay, so I'm gonna hold. If I hold this like this, you see how far I've gone so far. Just lining it up, because what you can do there, you can see the rear hole there, which means that's how much material we've basically removed from this forward hole. So I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, so it's a bit daft, really. How I mean, you could actually make maybe the front one just articulate, and then these ones are locked solid. I'm articulating probably the most wrongest axle that I could do. That's not even proper English, because it has to mesh with this gear in here. But because I've done the other two, I know this is going to work. So you don't really want to articulate the ones that, the wheels that need to be in a place for meshing with gears. So you could try the front, or just the back, or both the front and the back that keep the middle one solid. You know, that would be another way. Okay, so I would say possibly that much. I might come back and do a bit more, but now that we've got this side, what I'm simply going to do is do exactly the same on the other side. Now, what I'm doing, I'm looking at the camera, like you are looking through the camera as well. This blade's flat on both sides of the chassis, okay? So when that blade like becomes, well, a line, I can't really go into that too much. I'm just basically looking 90 degrees on to this hole, so I'm judging how much I've removed with the hole behind it. That's all I'm doing. You could measure it before and after, and you know, that'd be just fine. What I'm aiming to do here though is the front axle and the rear axle are holding all the way to the loco, so this middle one's just driving those two with the links. You know, I think filing this would be quite a good idea. I haven't got a file that's kind of like, I've got flat ones and round ones. The round ones wouldn't quite fit, the flat ones wouldn't be wide enough. So yeah, I just do this. So I'm pushing down and levering it away from the side, and it just scrapes the bottom layer off. Chunk. Then go to the other side. Like that. Also, I'm showing you this video because I was always under the impression, unless you've got DCC and a stay alive, like DC's like not terribly great, especially points and things, and you want to go slow-ish over stuff. There will be some real clever guys out there that are modifying points and turnouts with, like, I don't know, colouring in the initial frog with a pencil, so it's graphite coated and all that. That does work. However, it doesn't really last long enough for me, and the better you can get the loco to run without really doing anything to the track, the better. Once you start messing with the track, I find, especially like adding, like, I don't know, conductive grease and things like that, it's going to go everywhere. So you can see actually this one here to this one here how much I've removed. Like it's quite an amount. I'd say half a mil, maybe 0.7 of a mil. Maybe, well, maybe not. Let's say half a mil. So we're keeping the orientation there. That's it. That's basically all I'm doing. The contacts, I've been messing around with them on the track, but what I'm going to do, I've got some isopropyl alcohol, IPA that everyone keeps calling it. I'm going to put it on a bit of this cotton bud, and I'm just going to clean the grease off anything that might be an issue, especially the back of these. And this hasn't got any alcohol on it, but I suspect, you know, there's dirt deposits on there already, and you just don't want those. This is all over my finger. So I think the guy who had this last, basically he probably ran it around his track. Oh, that's nice. Put it away, and that was it. I got it. So I don't think it's had much use at all. When we put these back in, I'll also show you what you're looking for, but I'm going to just clean this because it's good practice, and the back of the wheels, and we'll be back in a minute. When it's all clean, then I can reassemble it in front of you. So I've cleaned up these contacts just with alcohol, and I've done the wheels also. So we shall resume. You can do whatever you want here. I'm not oiling anything, I'm not greasing anything. I did just get a cotton bud on the side of the commutator in there on the motor and just clean some of the debris off the motor. Make sure there's no bits between. You see that gap running through, just make sure there's nothing in there. You can use a cocktail stick in there. Just scrape out any deposits. Really you want to be taking these pieces off here and cleaning the brushes, but it's actually in really good shape and it runs well. That's not an issue. We just want to improve the pickups at this point. So this is the front, and as you remember earlier, we've got these little bulbed bits on the link facing aft on the loco, but we've got to have these tips facing up on the loco. So I'm just going to put this in here. So the wheels are 90 degrees offset to each other. So for instance, see this pin on the top? That's facing to the left. Now if I just slowly rotate this round, now this one's facing up, and so it's 90 degrees offset, and they all should be. So let's just point this one down, and then whatever goes on this side has to face down. Down, down, down. Be very careful not to sort of squash the links. I am holding them, but just very, very loosely. It is definitely quite a fiddly thing to be doing all of this. I'm just kind of, I like the challenge, I'm kind of used to it. Now I'm laying these in there. I'm going to just put a bit of track across the top. Bit of clean bit of track. Now, can you see this? That wheel can now freely gimbal around just a little bit, not a lot. Well, it'll move side to side, but we want it to move up and down just a little bit, whilst the back and whilst the front and the rear wheels are on the track. So that will allow basically one side to go up, one side to go down, and always make contact. That's the theory anyway. So what's that? After all this, I hope this one actually works, because it'd be a bit embarrassing if it doesn't. Okay, so on here, the way to remember this is, if you look through the holes, not this one, that's not included in this, that's like a rivet that's holding all of it together. Now, you see down this hole, there's a bit of the contact showing. That's what we're interested in here, that's the focus, because that hole has to be where the screw comes through the loco, and there's a nut here, so there's not really a hole to look at. You can see it down there, that's that hole there, lines up with that, just like that. Now I'm going to get one side in, the side of the wheels, behind them. Be very careful here, because you don't want to bend anything. So I'm going to just gently, I'm not pushing down very hard, it's just like, it's almost just like, I don't know really, like picking up a little baby egg or something. You'll be so careful. And it just finds it so well, just keep jiggling it around and moving things around, and it will settle its way down in there. Because if you push it down, the pickups that are in there will just sort of bend. Now what you want to do is have a rough even gap there and there between the inside face of that wheel to the chassis. So the pickups basically spring these like that. You want it to sort of be in the middle, and I'm hoping these are all perfect. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Yeah? And also, when you push down this way, all the way, that contact behind that wheel should be in contact with the wheel. And then, if you go the other way, that one should be too. Same for the middle, but I don't think that's going to move too much because of the gear. But the front one, we'll just check the contact again. The top one, still in contact. And check down here. That, you know, that blade on that contact should always be in contact. So it looks good. So at that point, get the really long screw, and we'll put it through where they the contact patch you can see there is. I'll go all the way through. I won't explain the function of half of this stuff. You just have to kind of do it this way. So I'm putting the nut on the back there. This wire goes to the motor effectively. It goes to a noise suppressing capacitor for those that like that. So yeah, this screw is basically sending power to the motor from one set of those contacts. You don't want to be doing this dead tight. I mean, as soon as it stops, stop. Don't try and like graunch it in there. It's just not needed, and you'll probably end up, because this cover I believe is plastic on this one holding the motor. You'll probably end up breaking something down here, and then you'll have to get a new one of these. So we've got 4 screws over here now, and I know one of them now goes in here, because effectively that screw that we've just put in holds the front of the chassis all together at the front, and then this one just holds the bottom contact thing to the aluminium piece of the chassis. And also, if the screw isn't going in nicely, don't force it. What you can do is undo the screw until it clicks almost. You can feel it go clunk down and then go in. Then you know you're at the start of the thread and you won't cross thread the screw. So I'm going to put the shell on. I feel fairly confident that this is going to be just like all the others. Now I've got the coupling here. So to put this in, you put your screw in there like that, and there's a little pin on this coupling. So you want to kind of get that. I'd put your finger in over it if you want to. You've got to kind of compress it as you're putting the coupling in that hole. And then it's under pressure. Yeah, under pressure from the spring in there then. I'm just going to use my little knife to move the spring so it's more central in its socket. I just wanted to show you that. There's no... I think it's just practice really. They are fiddly. And what else have we got? Yeah, I've got to put the coupling in the front of the the front of the loco, so we'll put it back as it should be put together for you so it doesn't confuse things. So I've got to put the coupling in here. This kind of isn't the way to do this, but it's how I'm going to do it because I don't want to remove all the screws that I've just put in. So in a way this is a really bad tutorial, so I apologise for that. You'd want to put this in and balance everything before you put like the contacts on and over things. So this, I'm hoping, can you see that? I'm just going to be pushed in the spring and with the coupling. I'm really sorry this is out of focus. You get the gist though. We'll be back in focus in a second. Alright, that is in, but that isn't really for the beginner, I would say. That is a little bit fiddly. I'm going to do this screw just back up. Again, not super tight. So really, to put the bottom on, you just put the front screw in there with the nut, and this little countersunk screw at the back. Beg your pardon, at the front. So yeah, that's kind of ready now to go in the shell. The shell's got the spring primed in that one. Front of the loco because of the 2 ears. I'm going to want to put the back in first because I want to... We'll put it in level. There we go, we'll slide it in level like that. But just be wary of that spring at the back here. Okay, so she's in. I'm going to go for the back first, just because I'm worried about the spring. Again, I'm not tightening this right up. just enough so that the screw isn't going to just fall out. Well, we'll go back to the track. I think that's basically it. And we'll see what we've got. Fingers crossed, because what I've done isn't, you know, a big deal. But it dramatically changes how they run. So yeah, let's go to the track and we'll see what we've got. Okay, so we're back at the track. I'm just hand holding the camera, so sorry about the shakiness. Big improvement, isn't it? And I looked at my other Class 8s, and I'll just show you here. Look how much this one wiggles. I mean, the front and the rear are actually just loose. I haven't tried like messing around with that. The other one's quite tight. See how much that moves though? That's a lot more. Ignore the front and the rear ones. And so I looked at the other one I did. I think that's about just as good. It might be a bit more actually. You want them to sort of wiggle around a bit. Sorry, this one's more than I'm able to show you because oh, hang on, let's turn it over. So, to show you the wiggle, and then we've got our blue one now. I have the same issue here, come on. Let's turn it over. Sorry about this. So it moves alright. And then, I mean, you know, to adjust it, just take it apart and do it again. So it takes a while to do this, and you know, I've done it I've taken these all apart quite a lot. I'm just quite impressed with this one. The front and rear move that much because they're just worn out, but actually this is probably the best runner out of the lot of them, probably because it is all loosened up. Now another thing you can do for slow crawl speed, in fact I do this when I run it. I didn't actually run that, I just put that on the track and just moved it. Normally what you should do is just run them around for 5 minutes either way. So I'll do that now for this one. But what I do is I've got grease. It's just wheel bearing grease for like cars. On the end of a cocktail stick, I just dab a bit where the link goes on the plastic, around that pin and there, so that it's not just going to cut through the plastic. It's at least there's grease so it'll slip. And doing that, try not to get any on the wheels. It's not a lot that you need, it's just literally a touch. The grease doesn't like run around everywhere, whereas oil would. That's why I prefer this grease. Where are we going? Yeah, so you run it round with the grease on, and then if you come back after you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes either way sort of thing, the crawl is much smoother. It's just like these add quite a bit of friction. So I'm going to put a bit of grease on those little bits, run it around for 5 minutes, and call it a day, I think. I will revisit these three at some point. I'm not sure actually what I've got planned. I think it would be nice to maybe make one DCC, to be honest. Maybe not, I don't know. This is a very small selection of them at the moment. For some reason, in the last 4 weeks, I don't actually know how many Class 8s I've got now. These three are the Poole types. Then I've got 1 or 2 of the next one up where they've got blackened wheels and the wheels are larger. I'm pretty sure on those ones you can do the same modification, because otherwise they just drive like a stock Poole type chassis. Sorry if I'm losing you here, but for the guys that are listening that know what I'm on about, I hope this is helpful. And then you've got the 3rd generation. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to get them and I'll talk about them. It's far easier if I do that, I think. I'll be back in a minute. So, these are the 3 I just showed you. So these are the 2 Poole type BR green. This is the Poole type BR blue. Now, I know you can modify these because I've done it. I'm just a little bit fearful of doing it on essentially the 2nd gen Poole type chassis. Can you see the difference there on the wheels? And I think it looks like the shell could be different, slightly different possibly there, maybe not, maybe they just painted some more on there. So I'm very sure you can do it on this one too. This should be a quieter run. It doesn't run great, so I've got to go into it at some point and have a little look. I'm pretty sure you can do this mod on that loco. When I do it, I'll put a video up. How's that? We'll do that. So, yes, you can do it on the Poole type. Let's call it a 2nd gen. Pretty sure you can do it on that one. But I'm very sure you cannot do it on this one. Because there's just too much going on under here. And to be honest with you, the pickup potential this loco's got anyway is pretty good. I'm pretty sure these are quite loose stock with most people's Class 8. If anything, what I would say is they've done it backwards to what I did it. So their driving axle on this newest generation is in the middle still, but it's kind of fixed. But then the rear axle and front can articulate just a little bit. So I think that's why these are probably a little bit better for pickups versus the old school, like out of the box, brand new sort of deal. Yeah, so sorry about the rambling, but hopefully that helps. So you got 1st, 2nd and 3rd generation. That's what I'll call them. Yeah. So yeah, I want to put a video up. Well, obviously you'll see it. But let's go run this round with some wagons, I guess, or something. It's got to pull something around, doesn't it?